Hey there, good morning. It's still morning. Yay, it's still morning. Um, I wanted to record something for you today because I felt really inspired. And this one is going to focus really on the energetics of success in your private practice. So, yeah, if you're into all of this stuff, stay with me. You're going to like it. I don't know what direction this is going to go in because this is just me rambling while I'm driving, right? I'm just imagining you're right here in the car with me. We're just having this fun conversation. So, let me give you some context. I'm still away. It's going well. I love it. I love being away so much. I love the spaciousness and the freedom of it and all this kind of stuff. And I realized that while I've been here, a couple of things, right? So, full transparency. Um, this is giving you like the background, don't worry. But yeah, so I came away to have a big break, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't organize a launch for Booked and Better. And anyway, so yeah, it's a new thing, like service product. Well, it's not really a service, it's a product, right? It's a um, subscription where once a month therapists can receive a tool, a resource that they can use to get better results in their private practice, right? But anyway, I was so busy working away on creating the opt-in page for it, the sales page for it and everything, and making sure that was all published before I came away, that I totally forgot, hey, I forgot to launch the thing. And ideally I should have had like a 4 week launch period prior to hitting publish. But yeah, me being me, I just got it in my head that I wanted to have it published on the 1st of August before I went away. And I kind of got things backwards. But it's totally fine. It happens. I've had a lot going on, right? I've had a lot. So, yeah, anyway, I got things higgledy-piggledy out of order and realized, oh, yeah, the other thing is while I'm away, I also have scheduled a group call for the lovely, beautiful women in Practice Momentum for Thursday morning, and I don't have a computer. So then I was like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? But I thought I'd just see it as a sign of the universe, a sign from the universe, rather, to just go and get myself a laptop. So that's what I did. I needed a new one. It's been on my to-do list to go and get one. And then I just thought, yep, okay, this is the sign. I'll go and get one. So yesterday I went and got myself a new laptop. I really love it. It's a MacBook Air. And when I started typing on it, it's got soft touch keypad. So it's really nice. Loved it. My issue with the laptop, though, is because I love what I do so much, it's really easy for me to do it a lot, right? So I love to be helping people, be in Canva, in my Facebook communities, writing emails, creating stuff, all the things, right? I really, really love it. And I find it very hard to resist it. It's like, you know how some people just really love chocolate. And if I had a block of chocolate within reach, they would find it really hard not to have a piece. That's what I'm like with my laptop. I find it really hard not to turn it on because I love what I do so much. So I made an agreement with myself that I would only use it in case of emergencies, which obviously is going to be Thursday morning's group call. But also I realized, yeah, I probably need to do something about not having launch Booked and Better. So I quickly whipped something up and put that up. I did a little bit of it yesterday and did this morning. So, yeah. And now I've just like removed myself from my accommodation so I can't touch the laptop. But anyway, while I was there this morning, I had, all the heater on and the fire going and, you know, the coffee, and I bought these crystals, which I had them at home, and for some reason it just didn't occur to me to bring them. And then I found myself in a crystal shop and I thought, oh yeah, I need all these. So I got myself a peach agate, strawberry agate, a purple moonstone, what else? Piece of pyrite, piece of quartz, and something else. Anyway, they're beautiful. And actually, I was looking at them this morning and I thought, oh, that's my brand colours. So there you go. Um, but anyway, so they were all kind of sitting on the little table, and I thought to myself, oh, yeah, I haven't really journaled yet, so I'd really love to do that. So I just cleared everything off the table, got my crystals out, lit my candle, and got out my Wealthy Woman Oracle card deck and asked for guidance. So I called in my spiritual team, energy, universe, source, all the things, and I was just asking for guidance on, what do I need to do in order to, I guess, manifest more opportunities for the business and stuff like that. So that's what I was thinking about, because of course I've got my eye on the prize with the house, and that's, if you're new to the podcast, that's a whole other thing. I'm trying to manifest I shouldn't say trying, should I? I'm manifesting a house. So yeah, there's that. And I was, so I was like, show me what I need to know by giving me the right card. Anywho, I felt like I was shuffling the deck for eternity. I know it wasn't, but it felt like a long time. And then eventually a card, popped out. So for me, that's how I draw cards. I shuffle until one just kind of flies out of its own accord. And I will keep shuffling until that happens. So that's my way. I know some people, they just like to shuffle them a few times and they split the cards into 2 or 3 piles and, turn over cards. That's not my jam. I think it's more fun when a card flies out. So that's what I do. And the card that flew out was called the Observer. And I thought, oh, okay, this doesn't sound like a strategy. I was after a strategy. And anyway, so I read the card meaning because I'm curious, and it's like, do you know what? This is not about you having a strategy. And I nearly fell off my chair. It said, the abundance is already there. You just have to meet it halfway. And the idea was around, kind of expecting abundance rather than thinking it's something that's out there, over there, that I now have to find a bridge to, right? And I thought, like, this is so interesting. And do you want to know what came up when I journaled on it? I'm going to tell you. So I journaled on it, and I always like to ask myself a question too, right? So the initial part of the journaling was me reflecting what that all means to me, and then thinking about, okay, so then in the context of, attracting, manifesting, calling in new opportunities for my business, what does it really mean? And I realized, oh, okay, so they're already on their way. There's nothing for me to actually do. And that makes so much sense, because I have really laid a lot of groundwork. I've really, this year, I've spent a lot of time, leveling things. I got rid of a whole lot of my offers, for example. Other ones got little facelifts and things like that. So all of that is laying the groundwork. It's doing the preparation so that, I can plant the seeds in my business so that the abundance comes. And the abundance takes time. It's kind of like if I really did go and plant a seed. If I went to Bunnings and I just bought a packet of seeds and some seed raising mix or whatever it's called, I don't know. I know nothing about gardening. I know as much about gardening as I do about cooking. But boy, can I run a business. If I put that in the seed raising mix, I know I'm going to have to water it and everything, blah, blah, blah. And maybe it's going to take a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe longer, depending on what it is and the season and the weather and all the things. But it's going to take time for that seed to germinate. And then it's going to become a little shoot. And then it's going to take more time to, become bigger and stronger. And then it's going to flower. And then with the flower, there's going to come the fruit or whatever it is. and then I will be able to pick it and enjoy it, right? That's me getting the abundance. But can you see, like, it's a whole process? I think sometimes and I do it too, but sometimes when we put stuff out there for our private practice, like maybe you make a course or maybe you have a freebie and everything, you put your heart and soul into it and you put it up and, you let people know that it's there, and it takes time for, and it's like within a couple of hours you keep refreshing your inbox to see if anybody downloaded it and stuff like that, and nobody has, and then you start to feel like not great because nobody's downloading it, and why not? Maybe they don't like you, and maybe you're not good enough, and you can spiral. And it happens because we don't remember to remind ourselves that things take time to germinate, right? Things take time to grow. And so that's what I think this guidance is from this card. I think it's saying to me, hey, do you know what? Your seeds are still germinating in the background. Don't stress. You've planted them. They're doing well. They're growing. And sooner or later, you're going to be able to pick the fruit, right? Like, it's a done deal. That fruit is on its way. Done. So you just need to go out and pick it. And you need to be ready to pick it. So get your stuff together. And I think what that means is, in a practical sense, make sure I've got everything I need in place to receive the opportunity or the client or the sale or, I don't know, the experience or whatever it is, right? So let's say I'm trying to call in a new client and I'm like, geez, I'd really love a new client now. Let's say it's for Practice Momentum. I'd really love a new client for Practice Momentum right now. What's my strategy? Well, you don't need one because you've already implemented stuff. You just have to give it time to do its thing and work its magic. Okay, great. So where does that leave me? Well, you need to get ready to receive it because it's coming, right? It's a done deal. It's on its way. It's coming. Have you got everything you need in place to let it in, to receive it? And that looks like, do you have your contract or agreement in place? Do you have the onboarding in place? Do you have, all those sort of practical things? And I'm like, okay, great. So I will just go and double check those because it's a good reminder. One of the things that often happens with me is I'm always upgrading stuff for my clients, but I often forget to upgrade links to give them the stuff. And so when they go to, get something, I usually get a message or an email saying, hey, link's not working. So it's a Brooklyn thing. It's probably not going to change anytime soon, despite how much I really try not to do that. It's probably still going to happen. And I'm very, very lucky to be working with clients who are very forgiving and understanding. So yeah, that's probably, it's saying to me, make sure you've got all your ducks in a row to welcome them in so they can hit the ground running, you can hit the ground running, and you can all thrive. So I really, 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 really like that. And I think too, the other message there is to expect abundance. So in this example here, for me, I would say, oh, well, I'm just going to expect that, somebody's going to apply for my program. I'm just expecting that that's going to happen. When you get into that space, here's the thing. When I started thinking about this morning, and I was like, okay, so there's nothing really for me to do. This is more about me just meeting it halfway. And what does that look like? And yeah, it looks like me getting ready to welcome it in. But the other thing was, I have to mentally expect it. And I guess what came into my mind was, it's kind of like if I was going to meet one of you and I don't know, you were coming by train and you said, yeah, I'll meet you at Frankston Station, which I wouldn't wish on anybody, by the way. Don't come to Frankston Station. I'll pick you up at Woody Alec or something. But I know that you're coming. I'm expecting you. I've gone and I've made my home really nice. I've made sure that I've got plenty of food and drink for us, nice music, incense going. Buddy's agreed that he's going to be on his best behavior, all the things. Then I'm going to go to the train station and I'm going to meet you, right? I'm just going to get there and I'm going to wait for you and you're going to turn up, right? And then we're going to go back to my place and it's going to be great. So, yeah, when I started to think about really letting myself get into the energy, the mind space of expecting it, guess what happened? Got excited, didn't I? I got so excited. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. This opportunity, it's like on its way. Yay. I got so excited. The energy shifted from, you know, when I first picked up the cards and was asking the question. That energy was lack, it was scarcity, it was what am I not seeing, it was what don't I know, it's what's the missing piece, it's show me the way, implying that I don't actually know the way, which is BS because I believe we all already know the ways, we just don't listen to ourselves. So anyway, all of that. And when I got into the energetic space of just expecting that it's going to work out, it was totally different. All my energy started flooding back, so like rushing back. I felt like really excited. I noticed that I was smiling. I felt good. Yeah, I was sitting up straight. It's almost like the anticipation of that you have on Christmas Eve. And that Christmas Day is just like one more sleep away. It's like so, so, so exciting. Or maybe before your birthday or some kind of big event. You got that really excited anticipation. So that's the space that I'm in. And then what happened was I started to think about a beautiful client that had, oh, look, it happens all the time, I know, but it's never nice, is it, when somebody books an appointment and then they no-show, right? And it really upset her. And, kind of like threw her off for the rest of the day. And yeah, she didn't feel great about the business and all of this. So anyway, I was thinking about that situation in terms of, okay, what about moving forward? We do something like get in the energy of expecting that the client is going to show up, or we expect that there is going to be a good outcome to something, or we expect that. Do you know what I mean? And that in turn got me onto a memory from when I first started getting right into manifesting. And I was teaching my mum about it. She didn't know anything about it. She hadn't done it before. She wasn't familiar with the term, nothing. And I was like loving it because I was manifesting like crazy. And I started just with small things before I started building up, right? So right back in the beginning. And again, you can go back. It's how this podcast started. This podcast was a manifesting podcast right at the beginning. So you can go back to those very early episodes and you'll hear all about what I did and what I manifested. But I started with small stuff first because I needed to build trust that I could do it and faith that I could do it. So I just started with finding a feather, like manifesting a feather, manifesting, loose change, stuff like that, and then worked my way up. And this one time I was telling my mum about manifesting and she decided that she wanted to have a go, and she asked me, well, what are the steps? And so I just told her the steps, and she said to me, well, coming back from Phillip Island, we were at San Remo, and she said to me, okay, and I was getting a coffee. That's right. I had stopped to get a coffee, and she said to me, all right, well, when you go and get a coffee, I'm manifesting a piece of Jaffa flavored fudge. I want a piece of fudge that is orange and brown and it tastes like Jaffa, orange and chocolate. And I want you to get it from this coffee shop. Now, neither of us had ever been to this coffee shop because it was new. And it was called, I don't know, Extreme Coffee or something like that. And it said, all we do is coffee. And so I was disappointed because I'm thinking, oh, she's setting me up so that this doesn't work. And then I'm going to feel bad and I'm going to feel embarrassed and I'm going to feel like a heel because it didn't work. And, why did she have to say this thing? But I knew that if I went into that coffee shop thinking that and being in that energy, being in that state, I was probably going to get back all of that, right? So I had to be very, very, it was so hard. It was so hard. But I had to be very intentional about what I wanted to manifest. So, and I had to be very intentional about shifting my vibration. So it's so hard because I was like, how do I go from this isn't going to work? Um, she's setting me up for failure here. I'm going to have egg on my face. How do you go from that to 180 degrees opposite? So what I did was I just told myself, no, this does work. And you've got so much proof that it has. You got your feather, you got your loose change, then you manifested $5, then you manifested $20, like you've got evidence and you got a lot of it. This works. So I reminded myself of my faith, right? Like what I believe in. I was like, no, actually, yeah, I do believe in it. And why can't it work again? Okay. So I picked myself up and I was just like, I'm going to go in here expecting to get this fudge. So I go into the coffee shop and when I went in, they were packing up. The chairs were upside down on the tables. There was a lady mopping. And she said, oh, can I help you? And I said, oh, yeah, I wanted a coffee. And she took my order and then she said, anything else? And I said to her, oh, look, there's probably not much point, but I mean, I can't even believe I said that, which I probably should not have said. But I said, oh, I don't suppose there's any chance you sell fudge. And she goes, oh, yeah, we make it on site. And I was like, what? And I said to her, it doesn't say that anywhere. And she goes, no, we've only just started doing it. I was like, okay, well, do you have any Jaffa, like any chalk orange? And she goes, oh, let me have a look for you. And she goes away and she comes back and she goes, no, we don't. And I thought, well, that's interesting because did manage to manifest that they had fudge. Didn't manage to manifest that they had chalk orange or the Jaffa. And I thought, well, that's really interesting. So I was standing there waiting for my coffee. She'd given the order to somebody out the back. She picked up her mop and her bucket and went about mopping the floors. And then this lady comes out and she said to me, here's your coffee. And then she said, is there anything else that I can get you? And I said to her, oh, no, I was just saying to the other lady that I wanted some Jaffa fudge. And she said that you guys don't have any, but yeah, thanks anyway. And she goes, no, we do. I've just pulled it out of the fridge now. I couldn't believe it. I said, what? She goes, yeah, I've just taken it out of the fridge now. She wouldn't have seen it because it was in the fridge. I was like, okay. And then I said, yes, I would absolutely love a piece. And so anyway, she gave me the piece of fudge. And then with the piece of fudge, she gave it to me as a bigger piece for my trouble and because they were packing up and blah, blah, blah. And I went skipping out to the car, feeling very proud of myself, very smug, very OMG, this actually works, even for other people. And I was just like so happy. I was giddy happy. Like, I don't even know how I drove home. I was that happy. And my mum couldn't believe it, right? She's like, no way. I said, yes way, they had it. And I told her the story. Anyway, so on the back of that, my mum had this experience of manifesting with me. And then what happened was probably, I don't even know how long, I would have to go back and listen to the episodes, which I'm probably not going to do, but it wasn't that much long after that I got a tax bill. It was a big tax bill. It was like 20 grand. I couldn't believe it. I think what had happened was I'd changed accountants or something. And as I now know, often happens when you change accountants, the new accountant ends up working their magic and oftentimes you get a bill that you didn't have before. So anyway, that was what had happened to me, and it was this $20,000 bill. And anyway, yeah, so we'd lodged my tax return. I had to pay 20,000. I paid the 20,000 to the tax office, but then they got back in touch with my accountant and said, no, she hasn't paid us. And I said, but I have. And so he goes back to them and he's like, no, 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 she's paid. And they're like, no, 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 she hasn't. And here's another copy of the bill. And so that gets passed on to me. And I'm like so upset. I'm stressed. I'm freaking out. I'm anxious. I'm like, yeah, I'm in a real mess about it. And I'm insisting to my accountant that I did pay it. And so he's like, well, we're going to need proof of payment. Like, do you have the bank transfer or something like that? I said, it'll be on my statement. It'll be on my statement. So anyway, we get my bank statement. We send that off to the ATO. They're like, well, no, this doesn't help because we can't see anything. All it says is that you made a payment to the ATO for 20 grand. I'm like, yes, the payment for the bill that you sent me. Anyway, I was so stressed, and they were saying, listen, if she doesn't get this sorted out, we're going to prosecute. And I was like, what? No, I've paid it. And so then I'm getting really, really, really scared. And I was so worried. And then I said to my mum, look, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said to her, I'm going to ring my accountant, and I feel sick about ringing him, and she said to me, well, just do what you told me to do, like just manifest a pleasing outcome. And I thought about it, and I thought, that is the furthest thing from my friggin' mind, manifesting a pleasing outcome, because I just didn't think it was possible, right? But then I thought, no, 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 no. This can work. This can work. I've manifested all these other things. She even manifested this random piece of confectionery from a coffee shop, right? That didn't sell it, or didn't say that it was selling it and stuff like that. No, I'm going to give it a go. So I went into my study and I calmed myself down. I read a little bit of I think it was a Gabby Bernstein, or it might have been Abraham Hicks kind of law of attraction vibey thing. I needed to get back into the space, right, of believing that it could work. And then I was like, okay, and then I did some journal prompts. That's right. So I journaled through like what my block was and all of this, and I did some journaling around it. And then I was like, okay, yeah, I think I'm good to go. So I set an intention. I set the intention to experience a really pleasing outcome from this conversation. And I didn't pick up the phone and make the call until I had fully embodied the expectation of a pleasing outcome. Not a positive outcome, a pleasing outcome. And the reason that I say a pleasing outcome is because my brain won't do positive outcomes, right? My brain's just like, no, that's not going to happen. But if I say pleasing outcome, my brain's like, sure, we're open to being pleased. If I say positive, my brain treats it like I'm lying to it, and it will never agree to me not being honest with it. So that's why I say pleasing. It just works for me. So I say, okay, I'm going to manifest this pleasing outcome. So I got myself into this space of like anticipating a pleasing outcome, right? I visualized seeing myself get off the phone and be smiling. I visualized my shoulders dropping on the call. I visualized myself laughing with my accountant, all these kinds of things, right? And then I made the call, but only once I'd embodied it, right? I make the call and I tell my accountant, yeah, hey, it's me. Yeah, I want to get this sorted out. Obviously, I don't want to be prosecuted for this $20,000. I thought they did payment plans and stuff like that anyway. And I said, but irrespective, like, I've paid this. And he said, yeah, okay. So we're going to need like better proof. And I said, yeah, sure. And then he said, you know, like, do you have any more information about there that we could look at, about it that we could look at? And I said, yeah, I don't know. So I went into my email and I found the original invoice from the ATO saying, yeah, you owe us this much. And I said to him, like, I was just reading out all of the stuff, right? I was just reading out for him, oh, yeah, I made this much in the payment. This was the date. This was how I did it. I did it by BPay, and this was the biller code, and this was the ATO reference code. And anyway, he's writing it all down, and then he says to me, oh, that reference code is different to the one that's on this bill. And I said, oh. And then he says, you've just paid it into the wrong account. So I was like, what? And he goes, yeah. And he said, did you not type in the reference number? And I said, well, no, because when I went to pay it by BPay, the reference number was already there. So I just said the amount and then pressed, make the payment. And he said, oh, no, you have to type in the reference number because that can change. Like, anyway, so then he called the ATO and he said, listen, we found out what's happened. She did pay it. She's just used the wrong account number or reference number. When you go and make a BPay payment, so in Australia, you one of the ways you can pay the government and any business is through something called BPay. It's, B stands for bank, I think. Anyway, it doesn't cost you any fees and stuff like that if you're the one making the payment, but it's like reliable and it's trusted and it's safe and secure and all this. Anyway, so that's what I'd done. Just went into the wrong bank account. And so anyway, yeah, I hung up the phone and I was smiling and laughing. And then I realized, OMG, I've done it again. This manifesting thing works. And then this all got me thinking about, like, recently when I went and saw my financial advisor about, like, what's the deal? Can I get a house? Like, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. And, again, I just did the same thing. It's my go-to for manifesting now. I always say manifest a pleasing outcome for this situation. And I got a pleasing outcome from that. So then on the back of all of that, I was thinking, how can this help my clients, right? And I started to think about, I've got a few clients that, they can spiral quite quickly. They, when something doesn't go, you know, well or the right way or something, like, for example, like with having a cancellation, or maybe even like yesterday, somebody had a no-show, right? Like thinking stuff like that. Um, you know, and I thought, yeah, interesting, because if I go back through our conversations, I can see that there has been like a little bit of a pattern of anticipating that things won't work. I'm not good at business. I only have a diploma, therefore, my supervisor doesn't do this, therefore, and it's like almost self-fulfilling prophecy type stuff happening. But the self-fulfilling prophecy, that's the technical term in psychology, right? It just means that whatever you believe, you get. And it's the same in manifesting, right? They're just called two different things. But manifesting is whatever you believe, you get. Same thing. In manifesting, you might also hear it as you'll see it when you believe it, rather than you'll believe it when you see it, right? It's the opposite. So then I was thinking, okay, in a way, is it possible that they've been manifesting some of these outcomes without realizing it? Or, if you don't want to use that word, like, have they been getting themselves into an expectation loop, a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will, around things don't work out for me. I'm not good at business. I don't know what I'm doing. People can't afford it. Nobody sees the worth of my business. People don't like me, stuff like that. Have they been embodying that energy and trying to run their business from that space? And not necessarily like the business, like the whole entire private practice, but maybe certain parts of the business or certain processes or procedures or policies or, things like that. Is that possible? And I thought, well, anything's possible. And then I thought, okay, so I guess the good thing about this is if that is in part what's been happening for some of them some of the time, what we know is that it's working, right? They're getting into an unwanted, um, they're getting into anticipating what's not wanted. They're putting their attention on that. They're putting their energy on that. Oh, well, I'll put the social media post up, but there's not much point anyway because nobody ever reaches out. And then they're writing the post and then they're posting it, right? And then nobody reaches out and they're like, I told you, like, nobody ever, this doesn't work for me. Um, that's like an example. So I thought, if there's proof that when they get into this negative bias, it's working in terms of giving them the negative result, which is then like they're taking that as the evidence that, their thought was correct, then that means that they're really good at manifesting. And it means that um, their brain is already set up to work in a way that's going to give them what they expect. So all we need to do then is shift the expectation. See? And so then I'm thinking to myself, okay, so now we need a way of shifting the expectation away from, I should have known that they'd cancel at the last minute. These things always happen to me. I should have known I wouldn't get paid. I should have known that they only wanted to work with somebody who can do mental health care plans. Do you see what I'm saying? So if we shift that to a different energy, and it doesn't have to be the opposite, right? Because just like I shared with you a minute ago, like my brain won't work with the exact opposite. My brain will not, like, if I'm in a dark place and I am in that space and I'm thinking to myself, well, I'll give it a go, but it's probably not going to work. Me trying to tell myself, oh, just do this thing and 100% it will. I'll never believe that. But me saying to myself, hey, we're just going to try for something better here than what we're expecting, my brain can absolutely get on board with that. So maybe we start shifting our expectations and we do it intentionally rather than being on autopilot. We create a new habit. We create a new practice of pausing when we become aware of, oh, I just thought that thing, um, pause and then try and redirect and get our awareness onto something that would be a more pleasing outcome. So maybe it might look like, yeah, I'm just expecting that this is going to work out. Now, if you get into that space of expecting things are going to go well, expecting things are going to go better, expecting things are going to go favorably, I'm looking forward to getting on the phone and doing this discovery call because I'm expecting that this person already wants to work with me. And of course, it's going to end favorably. Of course, this is going to work out in my favor. Of course, this is going to work out for, my highest good and that of the clients. Of course, it is. If you went into discovery calls with that energy, you would do them differently rather than, oh no, somebody's gone and booked it and now I kind of wish I didn't offer them because now it's going to be uncomfortable and I don't want to do it because I don't want to sell and I don't want to be pushing and I don't want to be coercing and I just feel really bad about it and oh gosh, I wish I didn't. I hope they cancel, I'm praying that they cancel and then doing the call and being in that space, being in that energy of like apologizing, not with your words, but being apologetic, like, oh, don't worry, I can offer you a discount. Oh, don't worry, we can do this other thing instead. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, that is a very different energy to going into a discovery call with something like, I'm really excited to speak to this person. I'm already expecting that they want to work with me. Otherwise, why would they have booked the call? So that bit's done. I don't actually have to do any selling. And I'm manifesting a really favorable outcome today. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing them, really looking forward to answering any questions that they have. And I'm really looking forward to yeah, this favorable outcome that works out for them and for me. I'm excited about it. When you can do that, do you see like it's such a contrast, right? So that was something that I wanted to share. I really think that it's so important. Like, I know when you're being clinical and scientific and stuff like that, you might be dismissing the idea of energy. But I believe that it's a thing because I 100% believe and trust the science that says everything's energy. Anyway, we're always sending out an energy, but we're always picking up on other people's energy, right? Like, you can pick up on my energy when I'm recording these podcasts and I'm feeling inspired, right? I tend to talk more quickly. I have less pauses. There's less umming and ahhing. There might be a few less tangents that I go off on, or, me forgetting my train of thought, perhaps. But you can also pick up when, like, I'm not in an awesome energy. So when you're dealing with potential clients, for example, it's the same for them with you. They can pick up on your energy. If you're going into that call feeling uncomfortable and awkward and nervous and like it's going to work and you don't know what you're doing and all the things, they're going to pick up on that and they're not going to book. Versus you showing up and you just trusting that, hey, what will be, but I know whatever the outcome, it's going to work out for me. It's going to work out in my favor. Even if they don't book, I'm trusting that this happened for a reason. I was not meant to be working with that person, and that's in my highest good. So maybe we would have had a personality clash. Maybe, there might have been some hiccup along the way. I don't know. I'm just so thankful that this is the outcome that I got. And I'm really thankful for them too, because they're going to now be able to go and work with the right person for them. And that just wasn't me. And I'm cool with that. See how it's like a different energy? Like, people say to me a lot, like, how do you remain detached from the outcome? Because one of the things I talk to my coaching clients about a lot is, yeah, I don't care if somebody buys or not. Like, I don't really sell, in inverted commas, anything. I give people solutions to their problems. That's what I do. And so I don't need to sell anything. This is my, yeah. If what I've got is going to solve that problem for them, they'll buy it. If what I've got is not going to, they won't buy it. That's it. End of story. And that's totally fine. I don't want anybody buying something they don't want or need from me, right? Um, that wouldn't be nice energy for either of us. I don't want that. Why would you buy something you don't want or need, right? Um, when it comes to your business and growing your business, like in this context I'm talking about. So anyway, I just thought that this was really, I'm losing my train of thought, but I just thought that this was really interesting. So I do believe that we are the energetics. I do believe that energy is ever present. We're always emanating it, right? We're always manifesting, whether you're doing it because you really want to and you're being intentional and you're saying, today I'm going to manifest a payment or a client or a sale or a sign up or an enrollment or somebody getting my course or, something like that. Whether you're doing it intentionally or not, you're always manifesting, because everything that you get in your business is a result of your past thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, right? Which is what manifesting is. It's a result of your past thought, feelings, and behaviors. So have a look around you in terms of your business and ask yourself, okay, what am I seeing? Like, take stock. What am I seeing? Am I seeing growth in inquiries? Am I not? Am I getting this? Am I not? Da 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 da. All those kinds of things. Ask yourself the questions, and then ask yourself, right, what was my part in this? And this is really important, because when you ask yourself, what was my part in this, right? Was it because I didn't believe I could do it? Was it because, was it mindset stuff? Was it I just didn't know what I was doing? Is it that I didn't have a strategy? Or is it that my energy was just off, right? I was pushing myself. I was already feeling burned out and I just tried to add this last thing, um, you know, like, think about what was your part in it, because when you know what your part was, you can fix it, sort it out, address it, change it. So it empowers you to be in control of the business. And when you're in control, you're not in victim mode. When you're in victim mode, you're powerless. You're saying, oh, these things are happening and none of it is fixable because none of them were within my control. When you say, okay, what was my part in it? Then you can say, okay, what can I do? What's my next step? So even if it is something that feels big, right? Like cost of living, for example, there are some therapists in private practice that will say, my practice is in the pits right now. I can't get clients for love nor money. No one wants to pay me. There's, blah, blah, blah. And it's all because cost of living. So now I'm going to have to lower my fees. And then there are other therapists that live and work in the same community that are thriving. And they say, yeah, we've got a cost of living situation here in my suburb where most of my clients come from. And so I've had to try and, create something that's going to meet that need, meet that demand, meet them where they're at, And so they have adapted. And as a result, their business is booming. They're doing really, really well. So that's what I'm saying. You can either say, I didn't have a part in this, none of it's my fault, it's all because of external things, poor me, or you can say, what was my part in it? Okay, great. Or what was my part in that? Well, my part in that was I was believing I couldn't raise my fees because we're in a cost of living situation and people couldn't afford it. So how about I work on that belief, because I can see there are other businesses around me that are flourishing and thriving, charging more than me. So obviously it's not true. There's evidence there to say that's not a true belief. It feels true for me, but I can work on that belief. And then with working on that belief, new things then become possible. And then with new things becoming possible, more clients become possible, more revenue becomes possible, more opportunities become possible, my confidence becomes more possible, all those kinds of things. So here's the thing. I would love, 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 just as an experiment. So, the rest of the day in your business, or if you finished work for today, maybe, make a little reminder for yourself for tomorrow morning to go into work, or starting the day expecting that you're going to get pleasing outcomes. I mean, use your own language. Borrow mine if you want, right? Borrow mine by all means. I always say, I'm going to manifest a pleasing outcome. I'm excited to receive a pleasing outcome. And just see what happens. Just do it for today. See what happens. Let me know. All right, my lovelies. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to another episode of the podcast. Bye.